Okay. Charles A. Gonzalez is a former U.S. representative, one of 8 children born to Henry and Bertha Gonzalez. Charlie A. Gonzalez received a BA in government from the University of Texas at Austin. And we got one, really? There was one UT Austin? No, that's all right. Okay, that's fine. Mary's the belated, okay. He also got a doctorate from St. Mary's University Law School. He has Trinity. Okay, just seeing if the mic's on. He has practiced law, was elected to county and district court judgeships, and, the U.S. House of Representatives. He considers his most important votes cast in Congress to be the vote against invading Iraq and the vote for Obamacare. Please give it up. Former Congressman, he's a congressman, Charlie Gonzalez!
Oh, Randy, another introduction, another decade. But it's a real pleasure being here tonight. I have a theme. And the theme is this. Steve Pierce is a local lawyer, and he wrote an article recently in the San Antonio Lawyer, and it was, he actually quotes Miguel de Cervantes of Don Quixote fame, and the quote was, "No man is born wise, time ripens all things." So at 72 years of age, I figure I'm pretty ripe. I'm not real sure about the wise thing, but it made me reflect on who we are, how we learn. Of course, there's Trinity, you can come and learn in an educational type setting, but really the experiences that you have with friends and family and such, and how that forms us. So what I wanted to do is really recount some of the lessons in my life and who imparted those lessons to me. And you're going to relate to some of them because some of them are national figures. I will tell you the format is exceedingly difficult for someone like me who would prefer something more like a filibuster. What they've given us now is really the equivalent of 2 tweets per slide. And I only know one man who could excel in that kind of format. All right, let me get my glasses out. I need these things. That's me campaigning with my father, Henry B. Gonzalez, when he ran for governor. Now, he lost that race. 2 years later, he lost a race for U.S. Senator. A year later, he won a race for United States House. Dad taught me never to give up. Now, I played the maracas with those traveling mariachis. Now, these are my high school buddies. Now, we were legends in our own minds, street smart, book smart only when necessary, and we were hopeless romantics and stupidly brave. I learned the value of friendship and loyalty, and one of those buddies is here in the room tonight, and he still's got my back after all these years. The turbulent college years. April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King is assassinated. He was the American Gandhi. He fought for equity through nonviolence and civil disobedience. His lesson was to never embrace violence, for it only destroys. But a short 2 months later, Robert Kennedy is assassinated as he stopped to shake hands with Juan Romero, a hotel busboy. Juan later remarked, "He made me feel like a human being. He didn't look at my color. He didn't look at my position." Robert Kennedy understood that all men are indeed created equally. My professional career. This is the infamous Judge Hippo Garcia's 144th baseball team, made up of exceptional lawyers and lousy baseball players. The takeaway is work and play with colleagues that are smarter and more talented than you are. You will be a better person and maybe a better baseball player. My congressional career. The man with the beard is Congressman Joe Moakley. At age 15, with the help of his parish priest, he lied about his age to enlist in the Navy and fight in World War II. What he taught us is that true patriotism has no age requirement. Now, Joe had cancer, and he told his colleagues in Congress about his prognosis. "My doctor told me not to buy any green bananas." He died 3 months later, but lived every moment to its fullest. He showed us how to live life with bravery and someday face death with courage. He was a generous and a really great man. These are two lifelong friends from two different worlds that ended up serving in Congress together. California Congressman Norm Mineta and Wyoming Senator Alan Simpson. Their friendship was proof that life's unpredictable journey is best traveled with old friends, and they continue to be very close. This is a photo of young Norm Mineta with his family, taken after the family was relocated from California to an internment camp right after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. The Mineta family reminds us that there's a special strength that only family can provide in times of hardship. So how did Norm meet Alan? A friendship developed when Alan Simpson was a Boy Scout in Cody, Wyoming, and would visit Norm Mineta's Boy Scout troop in the internment camp. This teaches us that even today, a fearful and an insecure nation can learn a lot from two Boy Scouts. This is Congressman John Lewis of Georgia. He marched with Martin Luther King throughout the South. The marchers were beaten, jailed, and some murdered. Working with John Lewis, I vowed never to take for granted the opportunities provided me through the sacrifices of others. And there's more to this story. Congressman Sonny Montgomery from Mississippi, who served with John Lewis and was a champion for veterans. Though polar opposites politically, each understood our veterans' needs had to be met. I came to appreciate that an opponent can become an ally when you are open to finding common ground. Civil rights freedom riders would ride buses into southern towns, and they would sing, "Freedom riders got to ride, but only the brave can step inside." They were terrorized, and even the bus was firebombed. We learned there will come a time when all of us will have to step inside that bus. Sent to protect John Lewis and the Freedom Riders was none other than a Mississippi National Guard captain, Sonny Montgomery, who no doubt did not agree with the people he was protecting, but he understood that duty and responsibility is what eventually keeps us all safe in the end. Congressman Jim Langevin, note that Jim's in a wheelchair. His campaign pledge is, "I'll stand up for you." He attributed much of his success to the lessons learned as an Explorer Scout. Jim's life demonstrates that you cannot be a leader without first being a follower. When Jim was 16, his Explorer troop was visiting the local police station when an officer's weapon accidentally discharged. The bullet struck Jim and rendered him a quadriplegic. Jim showed all of us that it's your spirit and not your physical capabilities that will determine your destiny. That's Jim popping a wheelchair wheelie. This is Congressman Dick Gephardt. He was the Democratic leader in the House, and he said, "When you vote on a bill, vote your country first, your district second, and your party third." Meaning that public service is not about blind party allegiance, but rather our place in the collective interest first. Congressman Carl Elliott from Alabama, who served in the 60s, he boldly voted to advance civil rights legislation. Coming from Alabama, this is political suicide. But this is what he said: "Doing your job honorably is more important than keeping your job dishonorably." Back home, his voice of conscience cost him his elected office, his career, and his livelihood. But across the nation, he was considered a hero to millions. A harsh truth, though: heroes are often revered, but seldom rewarded. Upon receiving the John F. Kennedy Profile in Courage Award, Congressman Elliott was described as a man ahead of his time. But he disagreed, and he said, "I was a man always behind the times that ought to be." And for all of us, no matter which path we choose to follow in life, may it take us one step closer to the times that ought to be. Thank you.
Okay, hang on. You can't go anywhere.
Oh, boy.
All right, Congressman. How does that sound, by the way, Congressman? Do you get called that some still? People are mad at you?
It usually has another word that either follows or,
Do you miss being in Congress?
One of the greatest privileges ever, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but there's a reason that I left. Nothing was getting done, no one was talking to anyone, and it just got worse. And so it's hard to really miss. I miss a lot of the people, I miss the staff, I miss the professionals, the bureaucrats, because they're really quite dedicated, by the way. But it's just, I don't know what it's going to take to really save it anymore, other than more people going to vote.
And what do you watch much of the news? Do you watch what's going on? Do you lament? How has it changed even since you left?
We didn't talk to one another, but now they don't even talk in committees where all the work gets done. And everything is a political message. And there's not a thing called regular order, Randy. The only time that you are relevant is in the committee work, where you get to work, not when you have 435 members on the floor voting on a bill that no one has ever seen because it never came to your committee. The system is completely broken, and I think it's a dangerous time for our nation, and people need to be speaking up.
One thing locally, your dad, known for the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, also was the man behind Hemisphere. The whole Hemisphere Park, the whole Hemisphere thing, the 250th. Looking as we are now at the 300th birthday of San Antonio, tell me about what you would want the city to celebrate, the way he wanted San Antonio to celebrate the 250th.
Well, a couple of observations. Dad would be the first one to tell you he did not do that alone, and we were blessed by many people that had that original idea, and he ran with it in Washington, and we had a lot of folks that helped us back then, people like President Lyndon Johnson and others. So a lot came into it, but it really was a community effort, and it wasn't an easy one. And of course, the convention center is named after my dad. You see the giant name, Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. But if you go to Panchito's restaurant, there is a little booth that has Congressman Charlie Gonzalez at.
Just as important.
Well, up close and personal when you're with me. But I think Dad, in a way, Dad would love to see the growth of the city, but he would probably would love to see the city come back together. And even though we're spread out physically, geographically, to have that sense of community again that we're slowly losing. And we have to remind ourselves what we have in common in this community.